White guilt is a scourge in this country and a problem we often talk about on the show. A video that recently went viral from TikTok seems to have captured this phenomenon, perhaps better than anything else we've seen. Here it is.
You know what? While we're on the topic of how white people are just f***ing the world up for everyone, you're not one of the good white people. There are no good white people. There are only anti-racist white people and racist white people. Anti-racism is a lifelong project, and the end goal is not for you to be good. It's for society to be good. Decenter yourself. Do the work. It's hard. You're going to get it wrong. But if you are not out there every day actively trying to understand, you're not a good white person. Stop patting yourself on the back. Stop congratulating each other. Stop separating us from the bad white people. Don't sit out there in comments and say, we don't claim them. We are them. We are them. We are the ones shooting up schools. We are the ones raping people. We are the ones enslaving people. We are. We're them.
Well, speak for yourself, lady. I have, in fact, never done any of those things. And of the people who have done them, they are not exclusively white, not even close. In fact, when it comes to mass shootings and violent crime in particular, white people are underrepresented as a group in that category. As for slavery, forms of the practice do still exist in the world, but they are happening in parts of the world with names like India and Africa and Southeast Asia. These are not predominantly white areas of the globe, just to be clear. But I'm not really interested in fact-checking this poor, unfortunate, I'm assuming quite lonely, white guilt-plagued woman. This actually is someone that I feel sorry for. Needless to say, she has no notion of what actually happens in the world, much less what has happened in the world, her grasp on history being even more precarious than her understanding of current events. This is a person, like so many others in our culture, who exists in a bubble. And the atmosphere inside that bubble is comprised almost entirely of self-loathing and narcissism. It is a volatile, often quite confusing mix. And that's why I'd really like to use this lady as a case study and conduct something of a psychological evaluation of the white guilt brigade. Every member of the brigade is an individual brought to this sorry state through their own relatively unique set of circumstances, yet there are some obvious through lines here, some things they all seem to have in common. And we can see many of those things manifested in this video. So let's go through this point by point, 3 points in particular. First, white guilt can either be performative or sincere, and sometimes, perhaps usually, a mix of the two. The fully performative variety is usually found among the white people who have gotten into the race hustling business and who are profiting immensely off of it. They're the ones who are writing the books. They're the ones who are giving DEI seminars and so on. And for them, this is a scam. It's a kind of a Ponzi scheme. It's a business opportunity. They're like the televangelists and the private jets. They found a way to profit off of a belief system that they probably don't subscribe to themselves. But the disciples really do believe it, to some extent at least. Hard year on the economy means that essential, practical gifts will be in high demand this year. Give the most essential gift of all, America's best meat and seafood from Good Ranchers. With discounts on orders of 5 boxes or more, you can save on gifts for the whole family. When you give a box of Good Ranchers, you're giving them a true steakhouse experience with 100% American USDA prime and upper cut choices of beef, chicken, and seafood. Other meat delivery companies and even your local grocery stores import lower quality meat from overseas. Don't give your friends and family less than America's best this year. Not sure what to order? Well, Good Ranchers now offers gift cards, so you can let your friends and family choose for themselves what they want, or you can give the gift of a subscription and inflation-proof someone's meat budget for them. Go to goodranchers.com, use code Walsh at checkout to get $35 off your gift. That is goodranchers.com, code Walsh for $35 off. Good Ranchers, American meat delivered. This woman, I'm going to assume, is not making millions selling anti-racism books or hosting anti-racism seminars. She's the person buying the books and attending the seminars. She's spending money on the racket, not making it. And that's because, as you can tell just from that 1-minute clip, she really does buy into this nonsense. She actually does hate herself. And that's the point. The anti-racism snake oil salesmen are exploiting the self-loathing of people like this. She was already lonely. She already had a low self-image. She already hated herself before she ever discovered anti-racism or learned the vapid, meaningless mantras like do the work. Anti-racism simply gave her a way of understanding her own self-loathing. It gave her something to channel it into and through. So what she gets out of the deal is, if not financial profit, at least, and if not emotional stability or happiness, at least she gets a feeling of unearned moral superiority. She hates herself, that much is clear, but she also gets to feel superior to other white people who have not done the work as much as she has. This is exactly the attitude that she's ranting against in the video, but she is lecturing other white people for their feelings of superiority while herself standing on a perch of moral superiority. This is ultimately the promise of anti-racism. This is the reward that it offers to white disciples. It will not make you feel better about yourself. It will not give you happiness, but it will at least make you feel holier than those other white scumbags. Second, it's interesting to note how white women in particular seem to be so susceptible to this stuff. Most of these sorts of videos, and I've seen too many of them, are made by women. And if you talk to anyone who's ever been to an anti-racism seminar, they will tell you that it's usually a majority women. And I think that's because most obviously women tend to be more emotional, which is a good thing generally. You know, a man might sometimes complain about the overly emotional women in his life, but the truth is that he wouldn't want it any other way. His wife or girlfriend's emotional outbursts might annoy him sometimes, but he certainly would rather she be emotional than cold and distant. This is the nature of the two sexes, right? The things that frustrate us about each other the most are the things that we love about each other the most. But a woman's more emotional nature can make her easier to emotionally manipulate in this way. And in particular, women are more naturally empathetic than men. Now, this again is a positive trait. It's something that men love about women. Yet, that empathy, if not properly calibrated and pointed in the right direction, can be exploited and weaponized and turned against itself. White guilt is in part a sort of misplaced, mangled, perverse, deranged form of empathy. It's not entirely unlike, the psychology that leads some women to strike up love affairs with murderers in prison. Kind of a similar thing going on. Third, final point. Whether it's a man or a woman expressing their anti-racist white guilt, what we're also seeing is the religious impulse at work. This is maybe the most important point to understand. There is no escaping the fact that man is religious by nature. We naturally search for the transcendent truths that will give our lives meaning. Not only that, but we naturally recognize our own sin, our own guilt, and we look for ways of relieving ourselves of that burden. We seek atonement. We seek absolution. We seek penance. Anti-racism provides an outlet for those desires. It's the wrong outlet. It's wholly unsatisfying and insufficient, but it's the sort of religion that non-religious secular liberals are stuck with. This is all they got. The religion has borrowed, the concept of it. Borrows a lot of the concepts because it doesn't create anything of its own. Leftism never does, so it can only borrow from what already exists. In this case, it borrows the concept of original sin from Christianity and comes up with its own warped version. Of course, in Christian theology, original sin is guilt shared by all people everywhere. We are flawed. We are a fallen race, and by race we mean the human race. But the leftist anti-racist religion preaches about a flawed and fallen race, meaning specifically the white race. We, white people, are the carriers of original sin, while the other races are angelic, guiltless, uncorrupted beings. This is their mythology. It's their creation story. It's their religion, because we all need religion, and we will end up with one way or another. And so in some ways, this person being liberal, lonely, sad, self-loathing, and also a woman, she was destined to fall into the anti-racism religion, the anti-racism cult. It was always going to end up this way these days. And yet, she is still today, I must say, in spite of that, canceled. And that'll do it for this portion of the show. As we move over to the members block, hope to see you there. If not, talk to you tomorrow. Godspeed.